Hello everyone, I am Yuri Malishenko. My talk is don't do an agile transformation and you'd better learn to design instead. A few words about myself. I work as an agile coach for Danske Bank. It's the largest bank in Denmark and one of the largest retail banks in the Northern European region. My job is to help the organization to develop the product that our customers will eventually love, so that these products and services that we are developing as an organization and are offering to our customers basically solve their problems, make them go away. And I do so by engaging with the teams and the subparts of the organizations to find a better way of doing so. And the way we do that right now is our bank undergoing a large initiative, an agile transformation basically. And right now it affects more than 4,500 people. And I myself was involved with agile transformations for the last 9 years, and 4 of them in the big financing organizations. And my insights and the things I wanted to share with you in this talk are mostly related and concerning the agile transformation in big financial organizations like the one I'm working for at the moment. My background is software development. I do a lot of coaching and I've been doing product ownership, and hence my passion for design, and that is one of the reasons I want to talk about design and its role in agile transformation. First of all, we need to talk about an agile transformation as a concept. I like to take the historical, evolutionary perspective of it, and while it's not a precise lesson in history of Agile, I just hope to give you some perspectives on what is important in different stages of the thoughts around Agile transformation, at least the way I see that. And what is going to help us here is a very simplified, primitive, but yet helpful model of an organization where you have the structures simplified to the leadership, different functions such as customer support, legal, risk, sales, advisory, all of that type of things you need to have in your financial organization. And IT, while being one of the functions, is still on the side, just to explain certain things related to agile transformation. So the first phase, it started with the publication of Agile Manifesto, and we will call this phase Grassroots Agile. I'll explain why. With the publication of the manifesto in 2001, what happened is that a lot of technology enthusiasts tried to understand how they could challenge the dominant model for planning and executing IT projects in their organizations, so that they could deliver a better quality software product, something that they wanted to be proud of. So no wonder you find developers and business analysts and people from testing on the group to publish the manifesto in 2001. They wanted to be proud of their work, and you can see that the Agile starts to emerge here in the IT part of the organization, and it becomes pretty much limited there. So it's something that those weird people in the basement are worried about, but that is a very important phase. Basically, we want to challenge the dominating project management paradigm so that we could deliver better software products. And if you can imagine that person working in the IT department and they say, hey, I want to develop a better software. The second phase, I will call it Scrum Explosion. So what happens here is, as the Scrum framework becomes more and more popular, it's becoming a de facto method for being agile. And while Scrum is not the synonym for Agile. It's just one of the small pieces that constitute the universe of Agile thinking and tools. That's what gets the traction for the Agile transformation. So what happens here is that IT becomes a stronghold for Agile thoughts. But that's not enough for the ambitious CDOs and delivery managers. They start to understand and realize that isolating these thoughts in their department is not good enough for their KPIs and for the efficacy of their organization. So they start to use a Scrum framework to explain why they need a tighter and closer collaboration with other functions. So, for example, product owners are assigned among the people in the business functions to work closer with the teams to explain what they need. The end users are closer involved because the teams want to learn about their feedback. So you can see that there is an expansion from the IT part of the organization toward the business functions here. What we could say is that the summary of this phase is that we want to bridge the gap between business and IT. And now if you could imagine people in this phase, they now represent both sides, the business functions and the IT, and they talk louder and louder, let's bring down the silos. And that takes us to the last phase where we are in general today, I believe, and let's call it scale and agility. So what happens here? You cannot really surprise anyone in a business function or in IT, and even if you don't work with software development, you have heard the word Scrum and Agile in a certain context, at least once in your professional life. And what happens in this phase of the Agile transformation thought evolution is that we can see the emergence of frameworks such as SAFe, less. We can also see digitally native companies, for example, Spotify, setting a standard for how to structure your organization to unlock the potential promised by Agile principles. And what happens here is that the idea of business functions and IT becoming one is voiced louder and stronger. So it's not something that is of a debate anymore. And the expansion of the thoughts are integrating further into now the leadership. So the people on the executive teams, they say, hey, we want to build the business agility now. And we want to know how to get the full potential of Agile so that we are more effective and we are stronger organizations. So business agility. And as I said, that's where we are today. We are working in this phase, and I'm not saying that an organization must necessarily go through these phases. Maybe your organization landed directly here, but I just wanted to give you an overview how the challenge evolved over time and how the thought developed. That will help us understand the idea behind learning to design. Also, please notice that we can see the evolution of Agile transformation thought explained through the structure of a company, of course on a very simple level. But something is missing here. Something is preventing the Agile transformation to become something really valuable and useful for the organization. Let's talk about that in the next slide. So, what is that we're missing out on when we think about an Agile transformation? We will use our simplified model to explore this question, And let's just remember what we have here. We have the organization, we have our leadership level, we have our business functions to support the activity of it, and then we have a standalone function of the IT here. What was missing in the picture is our customers and end users with their needs and problems. And our organization does not exist just for the sake of existing. It is serving our customers and end users. It's creating this uninterrupted flow of value directed at our customers and end users. Now, this relationship between our organization and our customers and end users is very important, because the way we see the value is quite different from the customer's point of view. And basically, that's the only important aspect of it. How do our customers and end users perceive the value? Do they think and do they perceive that their needs and problems are met or solved? And that's the only important thing to keep in mind. The flow of value is pretty much their experience with us, how they perceive our products and services combined. Now that I mentioned the word product, it's interesting to notice that the understanding of what a product is quite different depending on who you ask. If you ask an IT person what is a product we're working on, they might tell you, well, it's the mobile application that is supporting our mobile banking. And another one from the IT department might tell you that a product is that document management system I'm working on, or the ordering system, which is supporting someone from the back office. And then if you ask that person from the back office, what is our product we're working on? And they might tell you maybe that it's our unparalleled customer service that we're providing to our customers when they are calling us or asking for help. And then an advisor might tell you that our product is the financial advice we are giving to our customers so that they could make proper decisions, and so on. And that is important because that sets the scene for how we approach our work. Everyone working in this organization has their own goals and KPIs depending on which department they are placed. So the IT people would optimize their products of work, while the customer service people will optimize the quality of the service, and so on. But that's not how our customers perceive the quality of our work, because that has a different perspective from their part. So what happens when the organization realizes that we are not necessarily aligned on getting the best customer experience? Well, usually what happens is that we hire people to solve the problem we come across. And in this particular case, what happens is that we will create a new department, and let's call it the customer centricity department. These people usually bring a lot of knowledge from the field of design thinking with them. They also have a lot of experience and expertise in service design, for example. And also they bring the customer and user experience perspective. They bring a lot of interesting and valuable innovation tools, such as, for example, customer journey map. They could also do a lot of research and generate empathy maps to understand better our customers and end users. And their job is to nail how we as an organization could take care of the experience for our customers and end users. Let's double click on the experience that people in IT have generated through the recent years by trying to follow the Scrum framework. So let's double tap on, let's say, a team from the IT department here working with this mobile application. So if we do so, what we will find there is that they have a product owner, they have a team, a dedicated team to work on that particular product, and they communicate about the next things to be built through a backlog, and they iterate and try to nail what would be the next good thing to be delivered to their customer. What they have also learned from working within the Scrum framework, for example, is that it's very, very important for these people to work closely together and to collaborate on the solutions that match the needs and problems of the customer. So the key word is collaboration here, and yet they do that to focus their effort on this particular goal here, to get a mobile application. And a mobile application, along with other smaller products delivered by different business functions here, they're only adding to those micro elements on the flow of value toward the customer. But individually, they are not necessarily valued by a customer. They still look at us through the prism of how good or bad is the experience of them working with us as the product or a service providing organization. So now we have the customer centricity department responsible for the overall customer experience. And we have multiple teams and subparts of the organization that are trying to get their product the best way they can. And what I can clearly see there is that we are probably introducing yet another silo here. And isn't that opposite to what we have learned so far, that we need to collaborate and that we need to own the product together so it's valuable to the customer, at least they perceive it such. My idea here is that we cannot outsource the problem of thinking about the experience and the quality of the services and products we're providing to our customers to a silo organization. We need them to guide us and we need their expertise, but we all need to learn how to design that flow of value toward our customer and end users together. One of the biggest realizations I had while being a part of multiple initiatives aimed at helping the organizations become better and unlock the potential of Agile is that we, all of us, regardless of which business function we're in or regardless the fact that we're seated in IT, we need to look at that uninterrupted flow of value together and in a holistic way. And we need to learn how to change it appropriately and together. Which brings us to the next topic. So we want to change the experience of our customer with our products and services. And that takes us to the definition of design. And there are many of them, but I like one the most. And that definition reads, and that's a verb definition. To design means to create an intentional and mindful change. And that change is created on behalf of a person. So let's recap who our person we're worried about or concerned about is. It's our customer. It's our end user. And sometimes when it comes to certain things, it's our stakeholder as well. And they have needs and problems. And then we have our organization. Our organization here serves their customers and end users by providing that uninterrupted flow of value we talked about. And it goes like this. So what does the organization really want to change? Well, let's use one of the definitions of outcomes that could help us understand that a little bit better. I will use this definition here that reads like that. The outcome is a positive change in a human behavior that can drive business results. Okay, that helps because we want to design a better customer experience. And by design, we mean we want to change it to better. And if we succeed in that, that will drive our business results so that it creates a kind of a win-win situation. It's good for customers and end users, and it's good for our business because then we can operate further. And that brings us to an outcome as a unit of change. So you could see that this flow of value directed to the customer is built from outcomes as the building blocks. And if we want good results, we need to make sure that we come up and design these outcomes in the right way. And what is the right way? Well, there are many thoughts about that. I like Jeff Gottel's and Josh Seiden's thought the most, and they explain that in their book, Sense and Respond. And they came up with this super simple and yet very deep thought about the loop. The loop, which consists of three steps, you could say. The step of sensing, the step of responding, and the step of shipping. So sense, respond, and ship. What happens there? Well, in the sense part, what we need to do is that we need to make sure that we understand how our customers and end users behave, because we want to change that. And we need to measure how they interact with the technology. And most of our businesses today is technology. So we can have access to data, both qualitative and quantitative, and we can try and understand what really happens to their behavior. So once we understand whether the behavior is shifting to worse or good, then we need to respond. What that means? That means that we now need to look at our business impacts, basically our business results, and we need to make certain decisions, how we want to use our capacity and resources available in the company to support the outcomes, and whether we want these guys to focus on this mobile application or whether we want these people to work on something else. So that's how we respond. We change our plans, we make our decisions, and we try to understand how do we want to tailor our expectations to the business impacts as well. And then, of course, we need to deliver the changes. We need to deliver the features, and we need to deliver the changes to our processes, and we need to deliver changes to the documents and things like that. Those things that we have mentioned before, they don't go away. The software developers will still develop their mobile applications and back-end systems. The customer support people will help our customers. The advisors will do their utmost to find the best financing solution, and so forth. The outcomes are still backed up with those tangible deliverables. It's just we're saying that these deliverables are not the major focus anymore. Those are the shippable deliverables that we want to give in the hands of the customers so that we could observe whether these outcomes really created the different behavior, that those deliverables really changed something for our customers and end users in their experience with us. So the real summary here is that we want to learn how to design this flow of value toward customers and end users. And we need to take a perspective of the smallest minimum element of that flow, which is the outcome. And we need to engage as the big organization, as a united organization, around that process of the ongoing continuous design, using one of the methods, for example, the one suggested by Jeff Gottolf and Josh Seiden here. But regardless, we need to go all in, all of us understand our role in it. And some of you might ask now, does that mean that everyone in the organization becomes a designer? No, that's not the point. So no, not everyone becomes a designer. But we need to understand how this thing works and what is our part in it. That takes us to the last point. What can we actually do about it? What we can do about it is to learn as an organization how to design. And I would like to suggest 3 components of a changed organizational behavior with regards to how we design things. How do we design the flow of value toward our customers and end users? First thing I want to mention, though, is that the needs and problems don't really stay where they are. They're not really fixed concepts. So those needs and problems, they are constantly shifting. They are changing, they are disappearing, and the new ones appear. So this flow of value, it must follow where those go. They must follow our customers, and they must be adjusted to how their needs and problems change. And that's not simple. And those 3 things that could help us to become more flexible, more adaptive to those changes, I would say more agile, is first, we need to learn how to design on executive level. Sure, we need as an organization make sure that we have our business goals and impact set and intact. Otherwise, we can disappear as an organization. But what we can do differently is that on the executive level here, where our leadership is placed, we could focus our goal-setting mechanism on respecting the outcomes as the building blocks, as the currency of the design, and make sure that they are aligned. We can also make sure that the way we budget the organization, we make sure where do we spend the capacity of the IT organization. Do we assign it to this outcome over that outcome? And also we need to make sure that the governance, when we talk about governance, what we mean is that we need to go away from budgeting the IT projects that inform about what features and systems are to be built, and seeing outcomes merely as a post-mortem analysis of the benefits realization. The governance need to turn things around and see outcomes as the currency of our planning and execution, and then making sure that the way we plan and execute follow that, not the IT system or features changes, something that we know as outcomes over outputs. And the last thing to mention for the design on the executive level is that while we will be chasing those outcomes separately, there is a great risk of us losing the grip on the strategic alignment, so that it's still the leadership to take care of that, to make sure that we don't lose the focus on what is important for the organization. The second component of design is designing on the operational level. What it means here is that our functions, they are tasked on the individual level to either provide a back-end service or the customer support or the advice on the financials. And the IT systems support those functions with the technological capabilities, but also we deliver new features on the mobile and web and that kind of stuff. That doesn't go away. We understand that we still need those deliverables to support the change. However, the challenge here on the operational level is that not necessarily we have historically supported people to understand what that means to plan and to execute, and even before that to come up with a concept of change from the perspective of outcomes versus outputs. The example here is that it's very common to assign a product owner from a business function to work on a certain IT project to represent the perspective and experience of that a particular business function to serve as a subject matter expert. But at the same time, given almost zero education about what does it mean to create a software product, what does it mean to design a positive change, and those kind of things. So that has to be rethought and reconsidered. We have embraced the fact that we need to structure the organization around groups of outcomes, around value streams, and no one is questioning that business and IT must work together. So now we need to also catch up and make sure that the people, the leaders working in this area, understand what does it mean to create a positive change in a customer behavior, what does that mean to create a positive outcome, and what does it mean to support that with their particular function. I'll say it explicitly. We need to help these people through training, through mentoring and coaching on a daily basis so that everyone can understand as soon as possible and eventually what is my fit in this design picture. How can I support with my discipline and functions so this mechanism could work? What is my fit? And lastly, the third point, the way we used to do agile transformation. It's not really an agile thing. The agile transformations tend to be done in a very waterfallish way. What I mean by that is that we would come up with the ideas about the changes in the organization and processes through a very elaborate upfront process of analyzing and trying to get it right the first time. That is quite against the agile principles, but also is quite against the idea of designing and then sensing and responding and shipping. So we really need to rethink the way we do agile transformations. If we want to change the organization to become more resilient, more adaptive, more customer-centric, we also need to embrace the same design principles when we do that. We cannot, for example, forget that our employees and our stakeholders are the customers of that change. We need to also use the same approach of outcomes and iterative and incremental approach to the change as well. It just cannot be done in the ivory tower fashion. Don't do agile transformation, or at least don't do it the way you used to do. Learn to design and design your organization to become the one that could serve your customers and end users the best possible way. Learn to design. Thank you for listening. It was Yuri Malishenko for you, and it was Don't do an agile transformation. Learn to design instead.